Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, we are here with the Beacon TVL show. It's me, Chris from Beacon DeFi. Have one of our favorite guests coming back on panel on rotation. We have EPETE from Beefy. Welcome, EPETE. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am excellent. Thank you for asking. Wanted to. Sorry, I'm just waiting. I was like, it's like I know we're live somewhere. Just wanted to make sure that we are live, which I believe we are, because I can see myself on the tweeters. But so we got a lot of things to talk about. We'll go ahead and start with the just looking kind of at the market and where we're at. So BTC having a ride. ETH also on the ride, but they're catching up a bit. ETH is actually quite a bit up over the last couple of days. Overall 2.2% down from last week. But after everything going on with Bitcoin, a lot of people trying to mint a lot of Tether, apparently. I think 3 billion in Tether was minted in the last 48 hours. Everything seems to be holding, which is good to see. Solana doing Solana things, but looks like XRP again leading the charge with some of the other things that are happening. So to all of you XRP lovers, rejoice. I mean, we even have Tron off the news of Sun Pump and all of the meme coinery going on there, and ADA dropping out of the top 10 in market cap, but they're on the rise. So a lot of things going on. Are you in Tron at all?
No, I'm not. I'm pretty exclusively EVM, and that one's like EVM-ish, but not quite EVM. So
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I've played here and there on Tron. Easy way to get some money back. Actually, it was a really easy way to get just money back and forth, specifically back when you're going through not so much any. I mean, it's not that big of an issue anymore with all the interoperability, but back in the day, Tron was a really easy vehicle to get USDT specifically back and forth between different blockchains.
yeah, I
Without
feel like
having
it's
to.
always kind of been tether chain.
Yeah, that would be a good way to describe it. Definitely a big tether chain. There's I think what the majority of the USDT in existence is on Tron, if I'm not mistaken. So it's all there. So I did want to lead with a real funky rumor that I talked to you about it yesterday. You're like, I try not to think about it. I'm like, I know I'm not thinking about it, but Gary Gensler, Chair Gensler, possibly the nominee for Treasury Secretary if if VP Kamala Harris not only gets the Dem nomination, but also gets elected as president. That's clearly a rumor, but what I would say is something that Coinbase posted, which is make sure that you include crypto voters in your messaging. I find this is nice and heartwarming. Obviously, if you've been to, I think it was ETH Denver last year where they created Crypto 435, which was huge grassroots lobby um, for them to try and just put out as much information as possible on, what's going on with, being in, if you're a crypto holder, if you care about crypto, and your freedom around crypto, use that to vote at the ballot box, regardless of what your affiliation is. I also have a link in the notes you'll see in the show notes if you check them out to learn more about their stance on just understanding how many people in this voting election do own crypto and are happy to use it as a factor in who they're voting for. So keep that in mind, candidates, regardless of which way you're going to fall. Do you have any thoughts on this, sir?
I think I do like Coinbase article. I think it's very prudent to like just like, hey, these people are out here. A lot of them are definitely going to vote based off of a single issue. Um, and the rumor itself, I think, is completely without real basis.
Right.
But I feel like it's still a good opportunity for Coinbase to kind of put out a nice blog article about it.
Yeah, if there's a way to polarize the audience about trying to get people riled up, this is definitely one way to do it. I mean, we've heard Gensler, we've heard Larry Fink, we've heard Jamie Dimon, who's the head of J.P. Morgan Chase. So, uh, you know, we'll see exactly what happens here. Obviously, it just kind of depends. But um, yeah, go out there and be educated on the issues, especially if you're a crypto holder. There's a lot of legislation coming that's going to be affecting you. So I just want to make sure that that you act accordingly. So I did want to move from talking about. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, and in a world where no candidate is going to align with you on 100% of your viewpoints, you do have to kind of take into account what is most important to you and make sure that candidates are aware of what's important to you, and not just at the presidential level, but even at city and state level as well.
Yeah, and we could be in a situation where smart contract voting could be the way we vote sometime, maybe 10, 15 years down the road. Would not be shocking. For anybody who's ever tried to, take a course on how to become a smart contract developer, one of the earliest examples of how to create a smart contract, at least, as a developer, is to create something that does voting, something very simple and binary between 2 or 3 choices. It's one of the easiest examples to code for, and something to consider if you are out there. But EPETE, I wanted to ask, how do you feel about meth? That's a baited question. I'm sorry. I'll just segue over from politics to meth. And when I talk about meth, I'm talking about Mantle's LST meth. What are you guys thinking about? My goodness. So anyway, shout out to Jordy Alexander, the head alchemist from Mantle when it comes to this specific mechanism. But this is Mantle ETH. This is their liquid staked token for an ETH derivative. It's actually, I believe, in the top 5, I believe number 4, based on market cap. Mantle is a blockchain we are fairly bullish on because it is a CEX chain. Most CEX chains, like Base, like Mantle, because it's from Bybit, and there are some others like OKX's chain. Immutable X is another one. Actually, not Immutable X. OKX's chain, and then a couple others that are out there.
Of course, BNB as well.
And well, yeah, I guess. I suppose BNB. It's good to see that we're seeing things like this out. This is clearly about innovation, just in the space with the way that liquid stake tokens, derivatives, liquid restaking tokens have all come to the forefront here in 2024. So they've renamed the LSP to the mETH protocol. You can certainly visit the mETH protocol. I can't even say that with a straight face. You can actually, so there's a thread here. Specifically, why does it not show me the thread? Nope, that is a picture. Anyway, I'll have the full thread in the show notes. But so what's interesting about this is that they actually have 2 new products that they've come out with recently. The first is which is Cook, which is going to be their new protocol governance token. And the other is cMETH, which is their liquid staked version of mETH. And you'll be able to use that as a liquid staking mechanism. Hopefully it's going to be easily bridgeable to other blockchains. For those who don't know, Mantle, even though it's not a part of the OP superchain, is on the Optimism OP Bedrock stack. So we talked about the new liquidity layer that Optimism is rolling out with to have standardized tokens that will have just easy liquidity across all of the OP superchain blockchains altogether. Hopefully, if all of these other chains that use the stack like Mantle, Manta Pacific, a couple others, that stuff like cMETH will be a very easily bridged token or just usable token across all of these different blockchains. I know you guys at Beefy do have Mantle as one of your blockchains that you're out there using. Same with some of the other OP stack ones like Manta Pacific and Mode, of course, based on optimism. Have you guys heard a whole lot about this liquidity layer moving around? Does that obviously doesn't make too much of a difference for you guys, but it obviously makes things a little bit easier for vetting and stuff like that. So moves like this is clearly something that is what Beefy wants to see, right?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see kind of how exactly that liquidity layer will play into kind of just AMMs in general.
Right.
I mean, especially now more than ever, more tokens that need liquidity management is pretty big for BP. So we're definitely looking to stay on top of all the blockchains and be available in all of them. And I'm sure someday some of our lead devs are probably more up to date on kind of the going on of what's being developed. But I'm not personally super in tune with it.
Sure. And if you are curious about getting your hands on some meth, you can just do so at methlabs.xyz, I believe is the website. I'll have to make sure that the website's correct. But it is called Meth Labs though, where they're doing all the innovation. You can of course swap for it at any major DEX. You can do so through what we recommend, which is DeFi Llama Swap. But if you want to head to Merchant Mo, which is from Trader Joe, if you stake Mo, I still believe you're getting meth as an additional reward. So if you're just holding on to your Mo, feel free to stake it and earn some meth on the side. They do have a TGE, a token generation event for Cook, which is going to start in October. So keep your eyes on that if you have interest in Mantle. I do have quite a bit of a bag of MNT, their gas token on Mantle, just as a disclosure. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what happens here. I'm really excited to see what happens with all these OP stack chains. I think they're doing a great job, following in with Base's example. Same thing with OP, with what Velodrome is doing. And excited to see what happens moving forward. So you can bet on that. And that is a segue to our next article, which is on Bet from...
Well done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. My years on this planet have helped me, to do this. But Bet is from Drift. Drift is a perp deck on Solana. Polymarket, probably the most well-known of the prediction markets out there that's based on Polygon and ETH mainnet. It's certainly, made a mainstream name for itself, but now Drift is going to come here with Bet, which means bullish on everything. It's a really good meme, to be quite honest, because that plays into three different meanings, right? The idea of prediction markets being a bet of some sort, being bullish on everything, and then just in the vernacular of these, do we call it, what do we call them? Zoomers? I don't know what to call them. But the word bet is like that's like a word that you use. You're like, man, are you bullish on that? Yeah, I'm bullish. Bet. Or I know I'm using it wrong. My child, I have a 22-year-old. She's probably gonna come down here and yell at me in just a second. I'm not doing this right. But the idea is that they have very few things you can currently bet on. I think there's two only, which is just around the election, of course. But they do have the thought of mind to have several things: the elections, Formula One, Solana events, and then sports betting, which I think will be a good use case. And what's interesting about this is not necessarily about the prediction market itself. It's a prediction market, but in how you can pay. Because like Polymarket, you have the ability to vote, to make your bet in USDC. But unlike Polymarket, you can also do so with what are called shares. Now, shares are just tokens you can buy. And what's interesting about shares is that they are backed by, well, you're not seeing it here. You can buy shares with any of the 30 plus tokens that are supported on Drift. Meaning, because of that, Drift is a perp dex. Guess what, EP? You can hedge your bets, literally, by taking a short out on the token that you're backing with your shares. So, I mean, they took this very literally, and I do like it. I think it's a cool idea. The fact that you can hedge your bets quite literally using their markets, I think, is going to bring a lot of eyes, to the platform overall. And there's a lot and we've talked about Base, we've talked about Solana on all of our calls. I just saw a staggering statistic last night. I need to verify. That's why I'm not sharing it today. But it looks like that in the last 24 hours, Solana has done $2.6 billion of DEX volume, which is just dwarves what's on EVM blockchains. Because I remember seeing, I think I was on Orca because we had a boot camp on Saturday with our Beacon Accelerator and our mastermind about concentrated liquidity. And we were looking at something on one of our calls yesterday, I think on Orca, where they had it said that the 24-hour volume for Sol and USDC was like 1.3 billion. I'm like, there's no way that's true. Because like we were looking at Uniswap on Ethereum, and I think ETH USDC was like 59 billion in volume. So I'm like, there's no way this is true. But I saw that chart yesterday. I'm like, my God, if it is true, that's ridiculous. So anybody who attended our boot camp, keep your eye on Solana stuff. There's a lot of volume to capitalize on. And if you're not sure what that even means, I do recommend, feel free to join our free group, and that is at Total Value Lock, the namesake for the show, TVL, and do so for free. You get to learn from the best in the business on how to become a great DeFi investor and learn how to make your spot crypto bags work for you in a passive way to find financial freedom, much like I have, much like EPETE has. So much that we work in this space and make this our livelihood. Why did we decide to do that?
I came looking for passive yield and ended up finding a job.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. And just, that's what I said, Susan. I was like, no, that's total BS. I call cap, to quote Zoomers, I quote cap. That is cap. But clearly it is no cap. So for people in concentrated liquidity, go out and get some pools. There's some volume to play off of there for sure. So again, feel free to join us for free, absolutely free. School.com/beacon. We're over 800 members. We're on our way to 1,000. Looking to do a great giveaway. Maybe we can talk, EPETE, about great things to give away to our 1,000th member. Excited to see that we've grown this much since launching the group in February. So right before ETH Denver. So excited, and join our group. And again, thanks to EPETE for being here.
And on the topic of kind of what they're doing with Drift, I think having that secondary market to be able to hedge your bets, I think that's something that's really, really cool. A little known fact about one of Beefy's head developers, Wesso. His intro into learning how to code was actually because he was trying to create like secondary markets for sports betting, to where
there you go.
You could basically sell your ticket on a kind of like a secondary market as it kind of gets closer to maybe happening. And so if you have if you've hit 5 out of 6 on parlay, you've just got one left, you might want to be able to guarantee some money on that parlay.
Exactly. And what's interesting is this leads to some interesting use cases, right? Because this brings in Pendle, in my opinion, or other services like Pendle, which you said to allow market making for things because at this point you've now tokenized your bet. So now you have a true tokenized position, and you can do stuff with that now in DeFi. So that's actually fascinating. The ability to speculate based off of now tokenized shares on a market like Drift, just what could be next? I mean, there could be, full lending markets based off of that. If it's a large enough time horizon window for some type of, I could definitely see even prop bets based off of stuff like that. There's a huge, seeing it tokenized in this way, while it seems simple, very complex. And I'm actually surprised it hasn't happened more already, but I think we're going to see more of this. The reason why I think it'll start to take off is because now that it's here on Drift, I think we'll start to see more on the EVM side, where there's more smart contract development. Nothing against Solana. I love Solana. You all know I'm very bullish on Solana. But Solana is not really held with a lot of DeFi protocols in mind. So, getting more hands in the cookie jar, as we like to say, on the EVM side, people are going to start building off of this pretty quickly. and I'm excited to see where we go from here. So, hats off to Drift for pulling this off, and we'll see what the base of their group does. Which again, I'm killing it on the segues today. We're gonna move on to Base. Base has their namespace service open as of today. This is at base.org/names. Feel free to get your own name. It will be whatever your username is, .base.eth. Now, people may wonder, why do you want to do this? Honestly, the easiest reason I can think of is that if you have a wallet that you want to use for, I guess, having people send you money, things like that, this is an easy way to tie that together. If you're completely anonymous, this is probably not the thing you want to do. What'd you say?
So it can be like your Venmo handle.
Exactly. It's like your Venmo handle or something like that. But of course, if you are all about privacy, you probably never want to tie, your name with a specific wallet, because guess what? It's all public and on the chain. Obviously, there are services out there building, on that. And I'm talking to quite a few to have them on the panel soon to talk to them about. But if you're interested in this, if you'd rather not worry about what's my 0x address on Base, you just say, well, it's this.base.eth. You can buy them. They're being offered in a Dutch auction just for fairness. But if you want something small, you're going to pay 0.1 ETH up to 3 characters. So, I'm curious to see who's going to try and go for that. But you can get them for free, or at least discounted. So anything 5 plus or more, if you have Coinbase verification, meaning you're KYC'd, there you go. If you have the summer pass, did I get a level 3 one? I don't know. Or if you are a base.eth, and anyway, there's ways to get there. Or if you already have a Coinbase ID username, that's also available. So multiple ways to get one for free if there's something you want to do. So if you're looking for a way to, put a marker with your one of your addresses, this is the way to do it. So actually, this is the best question on the FAQ. Is my profile information published on chain? It's well, guess what? Yes.
The thing about blockchain is,
yep. At least this iteration of the blockchain is. Yeah. Please don't publish any information you do not want to wish to be on chain. So don't. Just be very careful with that. If you just want to do EPETE.base.eth, that's fine. That's not EPETE's real name. So, it's Jerome. But anyway, it's not. I'm just kidding. Be cool if it was, though. Just kidding. So that's the base.org, base.org/names for the Base ENS service. If that's something you want, then feel free to look it out. I will go ahead and put the link for Vitalik, the co-founder of Ethereum, his latest article. I am going to be very transparent in that most things that Vitalik talks about, literally, I just look at it and just kind of stare at it, because it's going to take a couple of reads for me to really read and understand about this. But the latest one, it was published today. It's about plurality. It's about pluralism, which it's based off of a new book from Glenn Weil. Hopefully that's the correct way to pronounce that. And Audrey Tang. They have a new book that is out on, it's called Plurality, the Future of Collaborative Technology and Democracy. It's interesting because he starts off the article talking about why he talks about Ron DeSantis' ban on lab-grown meat to be sold in the state of Florida. It's an interesting segue to even get into how plurality can work in blockchain, but he somehow worked at that, and kind of gave you a trilemma, if you want to call it, with regards to how this can work in the mega politics of plurality. Again, feel free to read it if you want to, or run it through your favorite AI summarizer. The idea is that ultimately, what we're looking for is the availability to have everybody with multiple takes, multiple viewpoints, multiple things they support, much like what you talked about at the beginning, EPETE, that everyone can still have different ideas, find common ground, and be able to move forward with consensus because of that. Specifically through using this, in the idea of how blockchains are constructed, how consensus works specifically with this, and how people can. It's a very interesting read. I would definitely recommend you read it. I read it 3 times, and I'm still just like, but. The idea is that you can apply this to layer 1 Ethereum because it's how layer 2s can be used as a way to provide something for everyone while still having layer 1 Ethereum at the center, which kind of gives the idea that layer 1 Ethereum can't be ever fully decentralized and is using these layer 2s to provide a more decentralized way to be in this system. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, EPETE, but this was a read.
I will have to say a lot of what Vitalik writes is over my head as well. It does sound very interesting, and I opened the link when you sent to me this morning and did not have the time to really dedicate to it this morning, which would be necessary.
That's okay. I didn't either. So thanks to Venice.ai. Shouts to Eric Voorhees and Venice.ai for summarizing this with some talking points. I did go through and reread the article a couple times to make sure that, they were okay. So basically, what he means is that different blockchains are better suited to different use cases. And different blockchains can excel in different areas. We talked about this a couple of times over the last couple of months where seemingly more blockchains are going to become, more protocols are going to become their own blockchains or app chains or roll-ups, whatever you want to call them, to the point where that's where I think the architecture of all this is just going to start working together. Interoperability, separate blockchains, just overall probably more efficient infrastructure. You don't have to know about it, from the front view because that'll all be abstracted away from you. But behind the scenes, having more efficient ways for all of these protocols to talk together to minimize liquidity fragmentation, price impact, all that type of stuff, all working together to make one really nice, beautiful picture of DeFi, I think is going to be key. So yeah, if you like what Vitalik talks about, feel free to check it out. Or if you're a libertarian, read it and see if it confirms a lot of your bias. We'll just put it that way. What I did want to talk about with you, EP, and we talked about this yesterday actually, is about the impacts of the decision on wrap Bitcoin across DeFi. So last week we had Mehdi from Exponential, one of our partners, on. And, they spent the last weekend, not this past, but the weekend before with, with BitGo going into a joint venture with Bit Global, which involved Justin Sun as a strategic partner. A lot of people had a lot of things to say about that. There's a lot of people who, Aave is taking a wait and see moment, whereas, since we talked last week, that day after, Maker passed a proposal to remove WBTC loans. No more future loans on WBTC. That passed. So while Aave felt that that was a bit of an overreaction, and not Aave, but Mark Zeller, who's a big big contributor to the Aave DAO, said overall that the sentiment is that just kind of wait and see. We're seeing some movement on this. Threshold, who's one of the who's another BTC person I know that you guys have some pools for on Beefy, some vaults rather. They are now they posted this morning. Now this is an interesting partnership to get Threshold at GMX for TBTC. Not saying, it would take a DAO vote most likely to replace WBTC with TBTC in GMX or something V1. But this is actually very interesting. This is an interesting move. I like what they're doing. I like that Threshold is making some really big moves, not to be outdone by the fact that Coinbase literally posted last week and just said CBBTC, which everyone was like, what? And we talked about that as well. So, um, yeah, I mean, this kind of, in my opinion, we've been seeing this movement with BRC20, CBRC, stuff like that. On the ordinals and runes side to create an infrastructure of like indexers and trying to decentralize stuff off chain and Web 2 to make settlement and consensus and on layer 1 Bitcoin a real thing. But this is coming at it from the other direction, from the EVM side, from more of the builders who are probably not necessarily more well equipped, but just have the better infrastructure that's battle tested today to tackle this issue. Obviously, it's still not native Bitcoin, and neither is the BRC20 movement. But yeah, I want to get some of your thoughts on this. I mean, do you feel that this is like a kind of a turning point in DeFi for at least for this cycle, moving forward with what's happening with BTC and seeing others step up? Because frankly, WBTC has such a huge market share of BTC in the market. I don't think it's this one that I have, but it's more than 95%.
Yeah, it's like the wrapped Bitcoin is the 15th largest asset in crypto. So I mean that's pretty crazy that
Yeah, it is.
just a wrapped version of a token is so large. One of the things that I found really interesting is like what a bad like business it is to be a wrapped or to be a Bitcoin custodian.
Yeah.
It's because it's not like a USDC or USDT where you get to basically stake the backing for treasury bills that earn a yield. So with Bitcoin being proof of work, it's like those assets are just idle, and so you don't make nearly as much money as one might expect when you have over $9 billion of assets custodied.
Yeah, I don't have I thought I had an article on this. I'll have to find it. I'll put in the show notes if I can find it. But yeah, it showed that I think they revenue wise they made 0.1% off of their assets and revenue. I'm like, that's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you think about it that way, it's not. I mean, we're looking at Tether having 5.5 billion, whatever the number was. It's like billions of dollars in profit every quarter for for what they're doing with Tether. And you would think something like Bitcoin, it's to the point where Tether is having their own version of Bitcoin, alloyed Bitcoin, because of is it gold or is it, no, it's Bitcoin, right? Whatever. They're doing mining, they're doing AI, they're doing gold and silver, they're doing everything because they have all of that windfall because they can actually go back and continue to do that. You're like you mentioned, they're not getting a lot of profit. So when I saw that they were looking for a joint venture mainly because they just wasn't profitable, it makes sense. Whether or not we talked about this last week, if Justin Sun's role is more of like a consigliere in this to really just kind of get them into the jurisdictions, because now the jurisdiction is going to be split between the U.S., Singapore, and Hong Kong. I just read on the timeline this morning again another rumor that Justin Sun may be helping open up China back for crypto. And I know people aren't happy about the fact that Justin Sun's involved with this, but think about the extra capitalization that could come from helping bring China back into crypto. I mean, that's if that's true, that's a wild statement. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then kind of for some of the knock-on effects in DeFi, um, Justin Sun doesn't have a very clear, always good path or history. There's definitely been plenty of times where it seems like he's been very self-interested, uh, as everyone in pretty much DeFi is to one extent or another. It does seem like it's a MakerDAO seems like it could be kind of overly reactionary to what's come out so far, but when your entire business is basically having secure assets backing your stablecoin,
Right.
sometimes you do kind of have to be on a more aggressive I guess, more aggressively defensive side. Um, yeah, because I mean, users at the end of the day, they're always going to be responsible for kind of making sure that they're comfortable with the risks that any assets they hold, or providing liquidity with, that they're comfortable with those risks and
Yeah.
know what can happen, and um, if they can survive if that potential does happen.
Right, and we talked about last week. Aave said that they've been able to replace WBTC if they needed to. Like on Avalanche, they use BTC.B, not WBTC on Aave. In response to this, they've also lowered the DAI savings rate from 7 to 6%, which is a nice thing to see. But yeah, so we're it's definitely some changes on the horizon. Looking, I guess the what's the word I'm looking for? Worms. Can of worms that they've opened here. The can of worms that they've opened kind of shined a light on how few wrapped Bitcoin, assets that are out there specifically. And WBTC's, wrapped Bitcoin is still just a fraction of what's out there. But in terms of being capital efficient and using, being able to make money with your wrapped asset, I think the fact that Coinbase is going to come through and bring CBBTC, and again, they have said nothing ever since talking about this, because they'll most likely bring it to Base, which makes sense because their sister chain is Bob, which is built on Bitcoin, which is a Bitcoin layer 2 in the OP super chain. Yeah, I definitely think this expands the definition of what the next version of BTC or Bitcoin Fi is going to be. Because they'll have the ability to get yields, and obviously you guys there as well at Beefy, that's redeemable 1-to-1 with the largest CEX in the world. So this is a very interesting and I think pivotal time in the future of Bitcoin, because I don't have it in the agenda, but Babylon, a Cosmos chain that's going to have native Bitcoin staking, is going live this week as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot to be curious about. And yeah, I didn't think Bitcoin would be this active. It wasn't really on my 2024 bingo card, but happy to see it. Not just be about ordinals and runes, and something that, let's be honest, the majority of regular people don't have the access to. That's probably my main gripe about profiting off of stuff that's in BRC20 and ordinals and runes, is that you kind of, if you really wanted to make money, you kind of had to have the know-how to do it. And it is what it is. It's a tinker system in some cases. So
I do think just Justin Sun's involvement is definitely opening the door for other people to really take some of that market share of kind of custodied Bitcoin and minting of a wrapped asset. And I imagine that Coinbase, I mean, because as far as like custodians go, Coinbase is a pretty trusted custodian, so they seem
right.
like a pretty good um, organization to be doing Bitcoin custody to mint their CBBTC.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see what happens over the next. Obviously, they have, I think, 53 days until that joint venture becomes real. And again, it doesn't change anything about the mechanics of WBTC, just the ownership. Takes the keys, splits it up into 3 entities. So not, BitGo doesn't own all the keys. It'll be interesting to see. Justin Sun has no access to the reserves. He can't move any of the money. And, like you said, I think that makes sense now, when you think about what MakerDAO has to do with regards to DAI. Is to just make sure that it has the cleanest exposure that it can possibly have. Anything that kind of puts that into question, they're going to have to mitigate and take action on. So they did it, they passed it, and now we're going to see what happens now. I did want to ask, so you guys do have quite a few TBTC vaults on Beefy. Do you think we see more movement on that? I know that one issue that we have specifically with TBTC is that it can only be minted on Ethereum at this moment. So hopefully we can get in touch with them, see if they can come on and talk about any new mechanisms they have, since I've met them twice at ETH Denver. So
yeah, like so far, a lot more of these incentives have actually been liquidity mining campaigns
right.
through various ARB, LT, IPP, SCIP, kind of from different sources. And a lot less has actually been from kind of the actual trading volume. But it'll be very interesting to see if the demand goes up and the volume picks up on TBTC as well.
Yeah, and I want to see more of these others. And to anybody in our mastermind, you got CJ's playbook over the weekend. You got to see some of the others that are coming around soon. Besides Threshold, such as Solve BTC, FBTC from Ignition. Swell even has a restaked BTC coming out there, and there's quite a few others that are out there. There's always, of course, we can talk about what's happening in Cosmos with Osmosis and Nomic and their version of their alloyed Bitcoin that's coming out soon, to make Osmosis an actual BTCL2 just by being able to stake some Bitcoin there to help secure the chain. So hoping we can talk to Sunny Agarwal about that and learn more about what they're planning on doing and how soon that could happen. I know that we talk about all these things as they're like really cool, but to be honest, this is not easy. There's a lot of work that goes into being able to bring all of these assets on chain, especially BTC. So yeah, for me, my main worry was that if they can maintain the same amount of transparency with CBBTC that they have with both CBETH as well as USDC, then I'll be happy to get some CBBTC. I mean, there's going to be some yield there for sure. That actually is going to be the best part, is that now that we have more competition, that means most likely more yield, more investors wanting to switch between different types of Bitcoin, moving liquidity around, keeping the markets fairly fresh, and letting the market decide how things are going to play out. I think that's the beautiful thing about what we have in DeFi. All right. Well, I know that you were recently out in the state of Colorado, EPETE, but I was wondering if you saw any churches while you were there.
Churches were not on the itinerary.
No, okay, fair enough. If you've been following our show for a while, then we've had an interesting history of crypto and churches in Colorado. I thought this was the same church. It is not. So that let's talk about tokenizing your church. To be honest, I'm surprised this hasn't happened more. And for whatever reason, Colorado just seems to be the hotbed of some interesting tokenization and crypto movement. There was one where we had a rug meme coin through a pastor using his church to have a meme coin, which is absolutely deplorable. I mean, you're a man of faith. Don't use your congregation as exit liquidity. Oh man, I don't even know. Anyway, this is the Old Stone Church, is what this is called. Not sure where it's located. I'm assuming it is somewhere in a rural. It's beautiful.
It's like Steamboat Springs.
Steamboat Springs. Okay, that is that is remote. I remember we went on a little vacation around that way towards Steamboat Springs. There is no Walmart or Target in that area, by the way. If you're out there, you are like in rural areas. Obviously they make their money how they make their money, but the idea is that Pastor Blake Bush wanted to find a way to. He's currently part of the name of the group is not the Colorado House of Prayer, but anyway, he's the current pastor of the group that's there. The building is owned by a person who owns a car dealership, and they're looking to buy it from that man for $2.5 million. So they decided to take the church in terms of the potential of the church and create share tokens. They're using a private blockchain called Polymesh for this, and they created a fractional ownership token. And so basically, anyone who comes in will have digital shares into the church, and they're hoping with the raise of funds to then purchase the building for $2.5 million. Obviously, maybe do a little bit of renovations or whatever is left over to now have the first tokenized church that I know of. honestly, I'm kind of surprised this is not more of a thing, considering how much people tithe into into the weekly offering at a lot of churches. I mean, there's always, you know, I know a lot of people who grew up as preachers' kids or PKs, and the fact that you're at church 3 or 4 days a week and you're always contributing to the church as a place of worship, a place to get together, a nice social town square. I'm actually not surprised this hasn't been done more often, and I hope that people are not watching this and start a gigantic amount of DAOs to start getting this to become a thing. Although it's cool, obviously, there's always a risk with this type of stuff. Not financial advice. Do your own research. Uh, yeah, I mean, to throw in this is wild. Tokenization market could reach 16 trillion by 2030. Justifying this.
Yeah.
The part that made me chuckle, and this is the reason why I decided to talk about this today, is that they do plan to open up the sales of to individuals outside the congregation. I'm assuming now, as opposed to later. While the decision could potentially expose the church to the risk of outsiders gaining control, or a 51% attack on the share tokens. When asked about the possibility of unwelcome groups such as Satanists acquiring tokens, Pastor Bush responded confidently saying, "Let's introduce you to Jesus." I don't know if Jesus happens to be another governance token. I'm sorry, that's a terrible joke. I find this very fascinating.
So does the token actually give you any ownership of the building or of the
Yes,
church? Or?
that's apparently what it's for. Because the funds are directly going to purchasing the title and the deed from the person who currently owns it. So,
Oh yeah, it does say in that tweet that it's a fractional ownership.
yeah, I mean, this is not DN 404, ERC 404. This is something. Although I would not be opposed to having this be like an ERC 404, and I get religious NFTs off the backside. That's terrible. I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to spread any offense to anybody who is very devout. This is a very interesting idea. I mean, if Trump can make 10 million off of NFTs, so could Jesus. Let's just put it that way. I would be very curious to see what that looks like. But yeah, fractional ownership is not new. That's not a new concept at all. But to be doing it on a blockchain, I think is really interesting in the arena of real estate tokenization. So put in the comments, would you purchase, let's say that you had not just a church, if you had like a community center, something like that, they used fractional ownership to, and really the point of this is to give anybody the chance to be an owner in something. That's something you don't always get the chance to do. So I think it's a really interesting idea to do this on a blockchain level. They're using a private blockchain, by the way, called Polymesh. We're not using Base or something like that. But that doesn't mean that something like this couldn't happen on a regular blockchain. We've seen multiple types of protocols doing something like this with real estate, but it's more a portfolio of real estate. Like there are a couple of Tomb forks and Ohm forks that tried to do this that didn't make it. But on a small scale, I commend them for giving it a try. Whether or not they sell enough shares to make it to get in there is going to be a different story. But I don't know, Sifu. You're looking for something? I'm just kidding. Wouldn't that be crazy if you're just following a whale's debank and you see all these RWA tokens for like different properties across the country? Like, anyway.
I wonder if this will draw the SEC's attention, because I mean,
oh, it sure will. Oh man.
I feel like at the very least their nonprofit status should be investigated.
Yeah, I know you guys have recently added Real as a chain. For them to have stuff like this would be pretty crazy too. And just like, yeah, only on Real can you have not only T-bill RWAs, but religious church RWAs. I mean, I can definitely see it. I mean, I could definitely see mega churches having some sort of raise like this, and Instead of buying bricks, you buy fractional shares, right? I've seen much worse. Go to nothing. So not this is bad, right? It's just it's fascinating. So congrats to anybody who gets into this, and yeah, I'm excited to see what goes on from here. So any case, we'll move on past. I think we've had a big thing of what we learned, but I did want to give you a chance, EPETE, again from Beefy, core team member. Thanks again for being here as always. Anything you want to talk about with regards to Beefy before we move on to call for help?
I mean, really just been really happy with kind of how CLM's been doing. We actually just introduced kind of an update to our rebalancing or kind of like our tick moving logic. So now, instead of just always moving to whatever the current price is every 6 hours, if the price has not gone out of range, we're actually just going to go ahead and leave the ticks where they're at. And then we're only going to move the ticks if it's been at least 6 hours since the ticks have last been moved and it's like fallen out of range or is close to falling out of range. So just less frequent moving the ticks should lead to not realizing any of that IL that can occur once it can kind of gets traded into after it moves. So I mean, it's been a massive success. Our goal for our Arbitrum LTI PP was 30 million, and we're at over I think 40 million
Wow.
on just on Arbitrum. And let me see if I can get the numbers for you, the actual numbers.
Congratulations, man. I remember I was just in the boot camp. We were covering Beefy CLM quite a bit. And yeah, just seeing you guys have blown past the 1,000 vault number.
Yeah, so we're at 42 million just on Arbitrum, and then we're at
Wow.
54, almost 55 million across all of our blockchains that we've launched on. So it's been a massive success, and kind of been seeing as how like Beefy's revenue is shifting to be more and more from CLM as opposed to the kind of classic vaults.
Yeah, and that's something we talked about in our boot camp that, essentially concentrated liquidity is going to be the future of how we provide liquidity in this space. And I do feel that Beefy is definitely leading the way in this. And for anybody who's unfamiliar with Beefy, feel free to check them out at beefy.com, and they provide multiple types of liquidity provision strategies that are auto compounded or at least optimized, and they have them now for concentrated liquidity called counts and traded liquidity. And yeah, they're killing it ever since they were released back in April, I want to say.
Yeah, it's I think it's April and May.
Yeah, well, definitely public beta was in April, so
Mhm.
definitely good to see how far it's come. We talk about them quite a bit. In fact, we featured one in one of our marketing emails. 127% on BTC USDC.e, which was an amazing pool, which is of course managed for you, so you don't have to really do a whole lot, but leave it up to Beefy. So excited to continue this great relationship we have here with Beefy and talk more about them because I talk about them way too much.
And then just other really quickly is we actually our Q2 financial report. We just published that today as well,
Oh
and
wow.
also there's a proposal kind of in discussion. It's not a live proposal yet, but a discussion around proposal for kind of what to do with profits instead of just continuing to accumulate everything to the treasury to actually. The really short of it is basically 50% way to continue to stay in the treasury, and then half of so like 25% of profits would then we're doing kind of a trial, or the idea is to do a trial to like kind of continue on in the spirit of LTIPP and continue to use profits in order to incentivize CLM across different blockchains, and then also introducing kind of a revenue share for the core team, so that there's more alignment with the DAO for the core team for us to want to increase profits, because then we would personally benefit from that as well. And so the DAO token holders would also be seeing more revenue.
I agree. No, I think you guys definitely deserve everything that's coming to you guys. You guys are hardworking, excellent team. As a Moo Beefy holder, full disclosure, I would love for you to airdrop stuff to Beefy holders. Go buy some meth and airdrop it to Beefy holders. You know, and I'm the token. I want to definitely clarify that to people watching this on Twitter, saying, "Why is he talking about meth?" I'm talking about Mantle ETH. So, you know, and as a proud Beefy holder and continuous DCA into Beefy, I support Beefy all the way. So if you're looking for a great project to get into, one of the lindiest protocols, I've been using them since day one. Feel free to check out beefy.com. And then thanks to EPETE, of course, for being here on panel. I think this might be your fifth one. We might have to have a special thing for, you know, when you hit your fifth
Five
appearance.
timers club.
There you go. Just like SNL, you get a little jacket and stuff like that. That'd be great. So yeah, awesome stuff. We're gonna go ahead and head to call for help. And I want to go ahead and bring up a couple of questions because one of them can be answered by you, EPETE. The first one we'll talk about is from Greg. And the question is specifically about this app here, which is called Galaxy. His question is, how is the process of using Galaxy on Arbitrum and what are the pros and cons? So for those of you who are unaware of Galaxy, Galaxy is what we call an advertising campaign farming tool for protocols. Essentially, you can, if you're a protocol, you can use these specifically for campaigns for your coin. There are quests that, you know, people can do to, you know, get into getting rewards of some sort. Oftentimes, so for example, if we use this for movement, I guess for Nauris protocol, never heard of them. Decentralized security layer, interesting. You can get different roles and different like NFTs and stuff like that, points, by doing the tasks that they have laid out before you. I don't do this very much, honestly, because I have a limited amount of time per week. And for those who want to be like totally in the community, totally, you know, in there as a contributor, do the Galaxy quest, or Galaxy's one, Zeely's another. There's a couple of different campaign tools you can do that's out there. I've noticed you guys don't do a lot of this stuff, do you, BP?
We've done I think a couple of different protocols in the past, but and we've also have been featured by like others have put up protocols for using Beefy kind of like on their blockchain.
Yeah.
Metis did one, and we certainly saw a lot of DeFi newbies come through our Discord and kind of try to figure out how to make sure that they're hitting the quests.
Yeah, I see that. I've seen that. That's true.
So I mean, you will definitely get activity if you run one of these quests. Whether or not it's meaningful activity, I think can vary pretty greatly, because they have a lot of kind of different ways to kind of prove humanity, and you can kind of gate these quests to having completed certain levels of like proof of humanity. But botters are going to bot.
Yep.
And they're going to bot these like proof of humanity as well. So yeah, I mean, you can certainly get the activity that you're putting the quest out for. That's almost guaranteed. But whether or not it's worth it is, I think, is for everyone to kind of identify for themselves.
And what I will say is, you know, the thing about, you know, the way that DeFi is now, there's probably less PvP movement as there was in the past. But when it comes to stuff like airdrop farming, when it's just, you know, using things like this is definitely a PvP environment. You're on a leaderboard, you're competing against others to get, you know, points, tokens. I'm featuring one here from one I didn't have on the agenda today, but I was going to put on, called B3. They are a base gaming ecosystem. They just recently just kind of started their launch and their different, you know, their different campaigns. You can go to I think it's b3.fun. Yeah, b3.fun. It stands for, I think actually it's just called Basement, I think is the name of the ecosystem. But they're trying to create a nice community-driven on-chain gaming ecosystem. And they do have a Galaxy here. And if you follow their socials, meaning they're going to farm you for your stuff, right? So You have to connect your Twitter. You have to like and retweet certain posts, follow certain people, just to get points, to get in line to hopefully receive some sort of NFT, some sort of airdrop. It's a great way to get into an ecosystem early. That's one thing I would definitely recommend if you're in that boat, you're a farmer who's looking to get into projects early. Galaxy, Zeely, you can certainly farm these protocols to find new projects that are already out of where they need to be to get rolling on their protocol, and they're looking to gain user membership, because that's what this is really for. It's a marketing tool. So that's with regards to pros and cons. Pros: easy way to get into a protocol, easy way to be seen by a protocol and contribute to a protocol, especially the ones that reward community involvement and engagement. The con is that if you're trying to stay anonymous, no. That's the biggest con. You're going to be bringing in your own socials and stuff like that, which is fine if you have that all anonymous, but you're also going to be battling bots a lot, because people are going to have scripts that do all this for them. So yeah, I like the system. Obviously, you're being farmed for your time. That's all it is. If you're fine with that, easy way to get into a lot of different protocols. Arbitrum with their Arb airdrop had their Arbitrum Odyssey, which I've done like 3 or 4 times now. Optimism Supervest, very similar, where you had to do tasks for points. That's all the Galaxy and Zeely and some of these others are for. Second question from Brian, and this is specifically about Beefy. He says about Moo tokens, which are the LP receipt tokens that you generally get when you make a position on Beefy. If I'm in a long-term position that I want to move into a cold storage wallet that I don't plan on interacting with much, could I send my Moo tokens or CLM tokens to that wallet and have it then accessible to that wallet?
Yeah, absolutely. That receipt token, which is your Moo token, or sometimes now if you're using something without a vault on CLM, it'll be like a reward token, and so it'll be like our cow. Those tokens are your receipt, and you cannot withdraw from your position without that receipt token. So there's definitely been plenty of times where scammers will impersonate Beefy and or just DM people and convince people to part with those Moo tokens, or people have thought that those Moo tokens are like extra rewards, and they've just like swapped them on MetaMask, and there's some scam liquidity that MetaMask router would find. So yeah, they're very, very important. If you know what you're doing, that's a great use case of being able to move your position seamlessly. Like, you don't have to withdraw and then re-enter it on your new wallet. You can absolutely just move your Moo token or cow token or reward pool token, and then you'll be able to withdraw from the new wallet or be able to transfer it to another wallet. One kind of, I think, important disclaimer to kind of be aware of is that it's very likely going to break a lot of our kind of profit and loss tracking. So if you're okay with that, then you can kind of proceed and it won't be an issue. But right now, there's not that ability to kind of do full-time, like complete yield track, like profit and loss tracking and yield tracking when you move wallets.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, because you do have that dashboard that's on Beefy that talks about, what your position was when you first opened it and then where it is today. So that I'm assuming that information most likely won't transfer when you just send Moo tokens from one wallet to another. Our recommendation has been to our members to not do this, mainly because of you have to know what you're doing. I don't know. I've never tried to do it on Rabby, which is the wallet that we recommend. But on MetaMask, you just have to obviously import a custom token. And
it's the same thing in Rabby.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, it's just not the easiest thing to do, especially if you're not confident in what you're doing. If you had to do this, the best way to do it would probably be through the blockchain explorer, right? So I would
start with actually Beefy's UI, because we link to the vault contract, and the vault contract itself is the Moo token.
Okay.
So if you go to the vault that you're like, you can filter for your positions and then navigate to them. And then the contract which you're actually going to be transferring is going to be available there.
Interesting. So I hadn't I because of just how complex it is, we normally don't recommend that people do it. But
yeah, and we generally don't recommend it either. But kind of, if people are asking this question, we're kind of giving them credit for kind of having a little bit more knowledge that um, they're probably going to be able to do it successfully.
Interesting. Well, let's just kind of let's just basically walk through it. So I'm here on Beefy. I pulled up the WBTC USDT pool on Arbitrum. I come down here, I check the pool contract, I'm assuming, correct?
Yep.
Or is
So
the
that's
CLN contract?
the pool contract is going to be the one that you want to move, because that's
Right.
going to be the R count.
Okay.
And I really
So
wish these explorers would actually update the token tracker name there. Like, they're just like, and this is like for all protocols, like they're just ERC20 asterisk asterisk asterisk.
and they had a chance because it didn't always look like this.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
So essentially what I'm going to do here is head over to ERC20, the
Mhm.
token tracker page, and then from here we're now at we're now here at, is this it?
Yep. And so
Okay,
like
cool.
if you were to go to contract, read contract as proxy, and then go to the name, you'll be able to see kind of what you traditionally would see where it said that ERC20. So if you
Okay.
scroll down to name,
There it
yeah,
is.
so you can see reward cow. And so this is a reward pool token for concentrated liquidity. So you would copy that, and then that's the token that you would be transferring.
Yeah, so again, this token contract will be what you would copy and then import into MetaMask or Rabby. What I was looking for was just the add to Web3 button that they have for some tokens, you know? So
Oh yeah.
I don't see that here, looks like. So yeah, if they had that, that would be much easier, but I don't see that. Like if you go to, let's say we go to a different token, they will have an add to Web3 button here to add to your wallet. That's not here. So again, if you really know what you're doing, this would be the way to do it. Otherwise, for most people, unless you have a gigantic size or you're in a position that you just love it so much that you don't want to get out of it, I would probably just leave it or break your position, move the assets, and then set it back up on the new wallet. So there is a way to do it. Obviously, this is a very deep in the weeds way to do it. So, and I don't have this on a crypto browser, so I can't show you how to add it into Rabby or MetaMask. But maybe I'll make a guide on this for anyone who's really interested. Let me know. Happy to do so. But yeah, so it is possible. Do we always recommend it? No, just because there are some gotchas that come with it, such as if something were to happen while you're doing the transfer, and again, that's probably not going to happen, but it's a non-zero chance. If you lose your tokens, you lose your position. So
Mhm.
there is that. Um, you definitely don't want to bridge it. Let's put it that way. You definitely
No.
don't want to bridge it from one. Yeah, no, nope, you don't want to do that. Although I don't see why you'd even want to try that. But switching it from one wallet to another, definitely something you can do. Uh, as you can see, there is a little bit of work that you would have to do in terms of importing this token. But once you have it imported into your wallet, then you can send it from one wallet to another. Then it should show up as necessary. But yeah, not for the faint of heart to try. But if you're a tinkerer, obviously, I would always start with starting with a small part of the position, just a couple of tokens or a small fraction of the tokens, and then send the rest over, and then just make sure that everything shows up. And as EPETE mentioned, it could mess up the tracking, meaning that if you have a position here, the P&L could be incorrect moving forward because of that move. So keep that in mind. All right, that's our show for today. Again, wanted to thank EPETE from Beefy for being here, as always. Anything you want to plug or talk about before you head out, sir?
Oh, I think I'm good. We've got my plugs in already, so.
Love it, love it. Yeah, talked about a lot of fun stuff today. Uh, If you ever have the Church of the Beefy Cow, I would join. I'm technically already an owner if you use Moo Beefy as those fractional ownership tokens. So not trying to pitch any ideas, of course. I think it's kind of cool.
Hey, you can always put up your own proposal.
I could do that, but I don't have time for that. With that said, make sure too, if you are in a group and you have their governance token, please support governance. Please vote. I will also say that today is there should be a new vote for Jupiter today for all those of you who stake Jupe token. If you're looking for another way to get active staking rewards in October, there's another vote, I believe today or tomorrow, that you can vote in to make sure that you check that box on voting in a proposal. So with that said, thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next week, this same time on all of our channels. 07, Beans up, banks down. See you guys later.